Greetings. The controversy continues surrounding time setting within present truth circles. And I made part one of my submission in regards to this issue of time setting within Adventism as to whether some people are setting time or not setting time. And it is sparking a lot of controversy. Very many people have got an interest in this subject at this particular moment in time. And that one, to me, is something which is positive. You know, when such controversies arise, it is one of the tools that God uses to awaken a people to a thorough study of His Word. And the inspiration says in volume 5 of the Testimonies to the Church, around page 708, that if all other means will fail, God will arouse His church, awake His church. Whenever such controversies arise regarding a particular doctrine, regarding a particular teaching as to whether this is right or not right, it is a moment that God utilizes to awaken a people from their slumber to a thorough study of His Word. And unfortunately, some people are taking just the sides of merely preacher. You know, we have a problem that Adventism, especially we who believe in present truth, some people have reached an extent of having their pastors as their minds. In other words, a pastor will act as their mind. They do their study, or they study for them, and whatever the pastor, whatever that favorite preacher says, they take it as absolute truth. But inspiration warns against such, that we have a chart pointing out the way marked the heavenward journey, and we ought not to guess at anything. In other words, we have to take up this chart and study for ourselves. We should not allow any man to do the study for us. Much as we may listen to them, much as we may attend their sessions, much as we may do all that, read their literature and do all that, the thing remains that we as individuals, we are supposed to take hold of this Bible and study for ourselves. That is what we have to do. So we can only take sides on the truth and not on a preacher. It is dangerous to side simply with a preacher, regardless of whether they are speaking truth or non-truth. So, in this submission, what I want us to do is, due to the controversy which seems to be ongoing, it appears as if each party wants to prove something, that they are right and this one is wrong. My submission this time is in relation to this. Shall we take the preaching of time as a test at this particular moment in history? Because we would not have a lot of controversy when a person who thinks time setting is not right comes up with a sermon or a study exposing the error of time setting. That would suffice, instead of still appearing as if people are in contention. Everyone wants to prove that they are right. This one wants to prove that they're right. And we are having that controversy around the preaching of time. And that is definite time. But the question is time a test right now? And the answer is obvious from inspiration. The time shall be no longer. In other words, time is not going to be a test anymore. That is definite. Time will not be a test anymore. She says in volume 1, Selected Messages, page 188, paragraph 1. This is what she says. Again and again, I have been warned in regard to time setting. There will never again be a message for the people of God that will be based on time. Now, let me also make this clear. In the great plan of redemption, we have what we call the history of redemption, the work of redemption, and the time of redemption. It is not that the redemptive plan has no time hung on it. It is a plan that is going to be performed and fulfilled in a specific time. Now, when she says time will never again be there will never again be a message for the people of God that will be based on time, The implication is not that the closing scenes are not hung on time. The only difference is that that specific time, that definite time, the day and hour and specific year is not revealed. But the message and the plan and the events in the heavenly calendar, they are hung on time. Which definite time for us who are living at this particular moment in history is not yet revealed. And when I talk of definite in this, I mean the exact year, the exact day, the exact hour. At this moment, we may not exactly know. But those messages in the heavenly calendar, they have time hung on them. But she's saying in paragraph 3, volume 1, selected messages, page 188, paragraph 3, she says, "The Lord showed me that the message must go and that it must not be hung on time, for time will never be a test again." Now it means time, that is definite time, is not a test for us at this particular moment. In other words, just as before 1844 there were time prophecies that were having definite dates, exact dates and years for their fulfillment, but for us who are living at this particular moment in history after 1844, she is saying time or definite time will not be a test again. So whenever a person comes up and preaches definite time and then says that our salvation can be hung on that definite time, then we can say there is a problem with that. Because he will be implying that time is now a test. That definite time is now a test. And when I heard these words, let's take a listen.
What are the absolutes God has given to us? You see, this midday power surge, you watch this. God has given to us the 6,000 years in the plan of salvation. From Adam's sin all the way until the close of probation, the second coming of Jesus, it is going to be 6,000 years. That is an absolute. That is a certainty. You can book that. Hang your salvation on that. That is an absolute.
Now, whenever we say that we can base our salvation on that, and yet that is definite time, then that is where the problem arises. Because we've made time a test after 1844. But she is saying here that time will not be a test again. So my concern is that since time will not be a test again, let's not preach, those who preach definite time should not preach it in such a way that the salvation of individuals hangs on that definite time. Because by doing so, you've made time a test after 1844. Now, what is this definite time? We may ask ourselves, what is this definite time? And how did inspiration or Ellen White use definite time? Now, definite time may refer to majorly two aspects. One, it may refer to a specific date, specific year, specific hour, specific minute. In other words, one of the applications of the phrase definite time is in reference to a fixed, specific point in time. Like the termination of the 300-day prophecy, October 22nd, 1844. That is definite time. It is a fixed, precise point in time. Now that is one of the ways definite time can be used. But at the same time, it can mean a duration or a time frame that is unchanging. That is also definite time. You may not preach an exact day and hour and year, But as long as there is a duration, fixed duration or fixed time frame, then that is also definite time. And much as Sister White used definite time, most of the times pointing to a specific day, year, or date, she also warned about fixing a duration. We gave that quotation, and we may look at the quotation again, where she says, we cannot have that message, we cannot say that he is going to come in 1, 2, or 5 years, or that he cannot come in 10 or 20 years. You see, that is duration. And those warnings came when she was cautioning individuals when it comes to setting time. Meaning that in her mind, a fixed date or year is definite time, as well as a fixed duration or time frame is also definite time. Now, she is warning us, or inspiration is warning against preaching definite time, whether fixed day or year or a time frame which is fixed and unchanging. In book 2 of Selected Messages, page 73, the Lord had been pleased to show me that there would be no definite time in the message given of God since 1844. Since 1844. So we don't have definite time after that. And she's warning against preaching the third angel's message when it is hung on time. But I want to be specific here that she is warning against preaching these messages when they are hung on definite time, whether specific time frame or duration or a specific year or month or date. Now, the other question that we may ask, are we supposed to preach time? After 1844, are we supposed to preach time? My answer to that is definitely yes. We can preach time after 1844. But the time we cannot preach right now after 1844, before the close of probation and the 7th plague, we can preach time which is hung on events. It says in Matthew 24, 32, Matthew 24, 33 and 34, even so you also, when you see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door. Now, Christ is telling us that when we see all these things, we should know that it is near. What is near? The second coming of Christ. Now, it means that the signs that he was pointing us to are an indication of the time in which we live. So by looking at the signs that point to his coming, we can preach the time at that particular moment. But you realize that that is not preaching definite time, but that is preaching the time as relates to the events. We are preaching the time as relates to the events that point to the nearness of the close of probation, that point to the nearness of the second coming of Christ. So we can preach time, but not definite time. We cannot set a specific day, year. We cannot give a specific time frame, unchanging time frame, but we can still preach time pointing to the events as they relate to the close of probation, as they relate to the second coming of Christ. So the question is, can we preach time after 1844? The answer is yes, we can preach time. Verse 34 says, truly I tell you, this generation will not pass until all these things are accomplished. Now Christ is saying the generation that lives to witness all those signs will not pass until all these things be fulfilled. The question to me is he pointing to a specific time in history? The answer is yes. He is pointing to a specific time in history, or that time is when these signs are going to be seen all over the world. This generation shall not pass. So Christ is telling us we can know that we are living in the time of the final generation. So the inspiration reveals that we can know that we are living in the final generation. We can know that we are living in a particular moment in history, which is the time of the final generation. So we can preach time, but not definite time. As of now, we can preach time as related to the events that point to those final movements. The mark of the beast and the Sunday law, which is the mark of the beast, the close of probation, the second coming of Christ. So, I'm saying that we who are living at this particular moment in history, yes, time can be preached, but not definite time. Not definite time. It says in 1 Thessalonians 5, but concerning the times and the seasons, brothers, you have no need that anything be written to you. For you yourselves know well that the day of the Lord comes like a thief in the night. Now when they are saying peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come on them like birth pains on a pregnant woman, and they will in no way escape. But you, brothers, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you like a thief. Now the question is, if we could not know the time, I'm not referring to definite time, but I'm referring to the time as revealed by the events that point to the second coming, that point to the close of probation. If we could not know, then how would we escape verse 3, which says, sudden destruction will come on them like birth pains on a pregnant woman. We will not escape. But verse 3 does not deal with those who are living in light. Verse 3 of 1 Thessalonians 5 is dealing with those individuals that are living in darkness, that don't have this light of prophecy, that are not watching the events in relation to the final movements. Those are the ones which will face what verse 3 says. But for us, we are in verse 4. But you, brothers, are not in darkness, that the day should overtake you like a thief. You are all sons of light and sons of the day, will not belong to the night nor in the darkness. So meaning that according to the Bible, we can know the time not in relation to specific day, specific year, specific hour, because that is definite time. Not in relation to a specific time frame which is unchanging, because that is also definite time. But in regards to how events are unfolding that lead us up to the close of probation, that lead us up to the second coming of Christ. So we can preach time, but not definite time, because inspiration is clear that we cannot preach definite time after 1844. Now, this controversy, for all the people I've listened to, the ones that are against time setting are not refuting the great week of time as such, but the idea of setting a specific time frame which is unchanging, in which the coming of Christ and the close of probation must take place. Because we are giving 2027 to 2031. Now that is, if that is to be taken as the time frame for the coming of Christ and the close of probation, then that is definite time. It is a specific fixed time frame that is unchanging. Now that is problematic. Much as myself, I believe in the great week of time, that the time of redemption, according to the mode of creation, Leviticus 25, we see working 6 and resting the 7th. And Revelation 20 shows us the millennium of rest. So we believe, and many Adventists believe, in the great week of time. And according to the spirit of prophecy, she brings out the same idea in various quotations, where she talks of the work of the devil, which is to take 6,000 years, almost 6,000 years. Meaning that after the 6,000 years, we expect something else to take place. Where she says that the baptism of Christ marked 4,000 years, but as well the sacrifice of Christ in AD 31 marked 4,000 years, an approximation there. So meaning that from there, people come to 2027 or 2031. But myself, I don't want to preach that as a fixed duration in which those events are to take place. Because if we are to preach it as a fixed duration, that is between 2027 and 2031, it simply means that is definite time. And automatically, that is the duration in which Christ has to return. So, to me, much as I believe in the great week of time, which we can approximate to those dates, but then fixing them and saying that we can base our salvation on that, to me that is risky. To me that is risky. Because if the 4,000 years terminated in 27 AD from the entrance of sin, and then 4,000 years still terminated in 31 AD from the entrance of sin to the cross, in between it is 3.5 years. And if things are supposed to take place exactly on time, where can we place the end of 6,000 years? Where can we place that marker? Is it 2027 or 2031? The answer is we cannot clearly set that, because we see an approximation in the dates. So what am I saying? Much as we may study that great week of time, it should be one of the indications that time is almost running out. We may study the great week of time. We may study that particular so-called prophecy, the time of redemption. But then it should be an indication that time is almost finished, that we are almost home, that we are in exactly the final generation. But then we shouldn't go beyond that to say specifically that this is the specific time frame. Because if it doesn't happen, then it means all this message does not make sense. So my plea is that those of us who are preaching that great week of time, the time of redemption, should not go beyond to set a specific time frame. But it can work as something that is an indication that we are nearing the close of the 6,000 years. The exact time frame fixed, we may not do that, because that is definite time. It can act as an indication that we are living in the final generation, that our Lord is soon to return. But fixing a duration between 2027 and 2031 and saying that we can base our salvation on that is going to the extreme that inspiration warns us not to do. So may God bless us. As we think about all that, one thing comes to my mind, that we are living in the final moments of this earth's history. And we should get ready, get ready, get ready.